Hi, this is Christian, and welcome back to NFL Updates Express, your weekly dose of NFL news. Coming your way, Super Wildcard Weekend predictions. For the opening game in Super Wildcard Weekend, it's the number 7 seeded Indianapolis Colts at 11-5, taking on the number 2 seeded Buffalo Bills at 13-3. Now for the Colts, it's been a pretty solid season for them, making it back to the playoffs after acquiring quarterback Philip Rivers via free agency after being cut by the Chargers. And now the Colts are looking pretty good. A strong defense, a solid run game with rookie running back Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines as well in the backfield. This team is looking pretty solid. But right now they're playing a Buffalo Bills team that may be the hottest in all of the NFL. The Bills are led by MVP candidate Josh Allen and also Stephon Diggs, who has had one of his best seasons to date. Now, for this game, I think the Bills are just a much stronger team here. The Colts, it's been a great season for them. They have a strong defense and could have a recipe for a possible upset. But I think the Bills may be the best team in the AFC. They're at home here. It's their first time atop the AFC in quite a long time. And the only team I really think that has a chance to beat them is the Kansas City Chiefs, and we may see them later in the AFC Championship game. But if Philip Rivers doesn't turn the ball over and is efficient, Jonathan Taylor runs the ball well, maybe the Colts could make this thing interesting. But when it's all said and done, I have the Buffalo Bills getting the job done. For the Saturday afternoon game on Super Wildcard Weekend, it's the number 6 seeded Los Angeles Rams at 10-6 and the number 3 seeded Seattle Seahawks at 12-4. Now the Seahawks started off the season pretty strong with Russell Wilson being looking like an MVP candidate, but he kind of tailed off at the end of the season, and that is concerning against the Los Angeles Rams defense led by Aaron Donald and some others like Jalen Ramsey, and also Darius Williams, the other corner that's looked very good as well. And so the Rams defense can definitely cause their divisional foe some issues in this one. But the big issue for the Rams is their offense. Now they have John Wolford, who will most likely be making his second career start after Jared Goff broke his thumb in a Week 16 contest against these Seahawks. Now for the Hawks, they have 2 great wide receivers and an abundance of running backs as well. You already know about Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf through the air, and I'm sure they'll be dependent on here in what should be a tight but ugly game. Now, who am I picking to win this NFC West clash? Well, it's going to be a close one, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams pull this out, but ultimately I trust Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson in a tight game to get the job done. It's been 13 years since the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were in the playoffs, and they're the number 5 seed here as they take on the 7-9 Washington football team, the 4 seed. Now, we already know about the football team. What a season for them. Now, I know they have a losing record, but they just had so much disaster around their team with Dan Snyder, their owner, and all the controversies around him, the name change from the Redskins to the football team, and of course, Ron Rivera valiantly battling cancer and is now back and coaching this team to the playoffs. Now they do run into a hot Tampa Bay team with Tom Brady and an abundance of weapons, including 2 great running backs and 2 receivers. Now they will most likely be without Mike Evans, who had an injury in a Week 17 contest against the Atlanta Falcons. But they still have plenty of other weapons that they will be able to go to, and not even mentioned, but Rob Gronkowski, their tight end, has caught fire in the second half of the year. Now for the football team to win this game, it's going to be all about their defense. Alex Smith can be a great game manager, and that's not a bad thing to say about him. He's one of the best at doing that. But for the football team, they're not going to want to get into a shootout with Tom Brady and the Bucs. For them to win, it's going to be Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, and the rest of the crew getting the job done on defense, forcing Tom Brady into mistakes. And they also have Cameron Curl at safety. He's been doing well, and maybe he could grab an interception off of Brady and make this thing interesting. Now, I do think that the football team will put up a good fight, but I just don't see the football team winning this game. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the much stronger team, and they'll make their push towards the divisional round. Get your popcorn ready. This should be a high-scoring match as the number 5 seeded Baltimore Ravens at 11-5 take on the 4-seeded Tennessee Titans at 11-5. Now for the Ravens, they've been on a tear. At the middle of the season, it looked like they may be in danger of missing out on the playoffs, but Lamar Jackson took over. One of the best games of the season was on a Monday Night Football clash when the Browns and the Ravens took flight, and Lamar Jackson was injured for a large part of the game with cramps, but came rushing back in and threw a deep touchdown to Marquise Brown, which started their hot streak, and now they're firing on all cylinders coming into the playoffs. Now for the Titans, they've been pretty solid and consistent. They broke out of their 9-7 streak record-wise, and now have looked the best as they've had in the last couple of seasons. Derrick Henry has rushed for over 2,000 yards as he continues to cement his place as the league's top running back. Now for the Titans, I do have one big concern. It's their defense. They've played pretty rough, and against a hot Ravens, Lamar Jackson, J.K. Dobbins, and the rest of that running game, it's going to be very tough for them to keep up. Now, I know they do have weapons of their own. Corey Davis has really caught fire this year. After a tough start to his career, he's been looking great. A.J. Brown, we know about him. And Ryan Tannehill, another great quarterback who's had a resurgence. Now, this game should be close, and Tennessee did win earlier in the year in overtime. But right now, I just don't trust the Tennessee defense, and I do think Lamar Jackson is just really hot right now. This whole team just has a lot of momentum. And I think Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens will win their first playoff game with Jackson at the helm and get past Tennessee. It's the number 7 seed, the monsters of the Midway, the Chicago Bears, at 8-8, taking on the number 2 seeded New Orleans Saints, who dat, at 12-4. Now, the Saints have been a very consistent team, headlined by Drew Brees and Taysom Hill breaking out a little bit, and of course, superstar running back Alvin Kamara. This Saints team is just a couple wins away from making it to the Super Bowl for the first time since the 2009 season. As for the Bears, they're finally back to the playoffs since 2 seasons ago when they went an impressive 12-4 before falling on the double doink. I don't think Bears fans want me to continue that. But most people think that this game might be a blowout or a pretty easy win for the Saints, and I'm not so sure about that. The Bears do have a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. David Montgomery, the running back for the Bears, has been pretty solid, especially in the second half of the year. He's really caught fire. Of course, they have a great receiver in Allen Robinson that seems to get open on almost every play, and Mitch Trubisky, who has solidified himself as the number 1 quarterback, overtaking Nick Foles after getting injured. And the last couple of games for Trubisky outside the Packers game has been pretty solid for him. And so if he can continue that streak in the Bears' 30-point streak, 3 out of the last 4 games they've scored 30 points with Mitch at the helm, then who knows? This could be a pretty fun game to watch. So who am I picking in this one? Well, I do think it's going to be a pretty entertaining game. But when it's all said and done, I think Sean Payton, Drew Brees, and the New Orleans Saints get the best of Matt Nagy and the Bears. Party like it's 2002. For the first time in 18 years, it's the Cleveland Browns in the postseason, and they'll take on their hated divisional rival of the AFC North, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who come in as the 3 seed at 12-4. Now, the nightcap and the cap for Super Wildcard Weekend should be a fun one. Now, for the Browns and Steelers, there are some concerns. For the home team, the Steelers really are not playing that well, especially in the back half of the year. After losing to the Washington football team, they have been headed in the wrong direction. Their only win was a huge comeback over the Indianapolis Colts, a 20-point comeback in that one, and overall, the Steelers are really concerning me. Their run game isn't very good, and Ben Roethlisberger has regressed in comparison to how great he started the season. But for the Browns, they've had a great rushing attack. Baker Mayfield has done pretty solid. But of course, the coronavirus has to ruin things for them, as head coach Kevin Stefanski, who has done an amazing job of turning this team around, will be unable to coach due to testing positive for the coronavirus. And also, the Browns lost star pass rusher Olivier Vernon. With 9 sacks on the year, his presence will be missed. Now, this game should be a really tight game. I know there's issues on both sides, and I could really see this going either way. And I had the Browns originally in this one, but after the COVID troubles and just the adjustments that will have to be made on the fly, I just don't know if the Browns can pull it out. Now, I do trust their run game and a pretty solid defense, but Ben Roethlisberger, experience in the playoffs, he knows how to win Super Bowls. I don't know. I just don't think I can go against the Steelers. I know they haven't been playing that well, but in a very narrow game, I think I'm going to take the home team to edge it out. For my 2021 playoff predictions, well, we've already seen who I think will win in the wild card weekend, but how about the divisional conference championship and also Super Bowl 55 down in Tampa? So we'll kick it off with the divisional round, and I got the Bills over the Steelers. I think that's one's pretty cut and dry. Then the Chiefs and the Ravens. That could be a very interesting game, but ultimately I think the Chiefs will get it done, setting up a great AFC championship between the Bills and the Chiefs. Now, this may surprise some people, but I got the Buffalo Bills taking down the Chiefs to head to Super Bowl 55. I just think the Bills have been the most complete team in the AFC, and I think that when it's all said and done, the Bills will be in the Super Bowl. Then for the NFC, I got the Saints and the Seahawks in the divisional round, with the Saints taking down the Hawks. And then, maybe another shocker to some people, but I have the Packers going one and done in the playoffs. The presumed MVP Aaron Rodgers going down to Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I just can't go against Brady and the Bucs. And considering how the Buccaneers dominated the Packers the first time around, I don't know. Tom Brady is a different animal when it comes to clutch situations, and so I'm taking Tampa in that one. Then for the conference championship, the Saints and the Bucs. Well, similar story. The Saints have shown they've dominated the Buccaneers in 2 different games, and overall, I like Tom Brady in this situation, but the Saints, for whatever reason, always come to play when it's talking about taking down Tampa Bay. So I have the Bills and Saints in the Super Bowl. And who's going to win the Lombardi Trophy? Will it be the Bills, the hot team, coming into the playoffs, or will it be Drew Brees riding into the sunset to capture a second ring? Now, this one, I went back and forth on it, but ultimately, I got to take the best team that I've seen this year. It's the Buffalo Bills, and I think the Bills will capture their first Super Bowl and Lombardi Trophy in franchise history, taking down Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, and the New Orleans Saints.